You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am one of your hosts, Jim Coppinger. I'm the guy who talks way too much, and with me, as always, is my partner,
the better-looking one, Rocco.
The delusional one, Rocco. But today we'll be nice to him. Let him pretend that he's a good-looking one. All right. Today, our topic is that there is still a lot of paper in paperless design, and we have a guest on the podcast with us today. We have Mr. Kevin Vaughan, who is the Vice President of Tavco AEC Solutions out of the great state of Texas. So, Kevin, thanks for being with us today. We appreciate you being here, man.
Absolutely. Quite a pleasure, man. I appreciate being on the show.
All right. Awesome. So, Kevin is here today kind of as a little bit of an expert on and somewhat of an evangelist, I'd say, for the printed page. So we're going to be taking a look at, the myth of the fully digital design world and why paper plotting hasn't gone away and seeing whether or not it ever will. So let's start with Kevin. So Kevin, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your personal background in the design world and what is it that Tavco does more or less on a daily basis?
Well, among other things, I wear multiple hats like you guys do, but I'm the VP of Tavco here, and I've been with the company for just over 20 years. I head up sales, marketing, and e-commerce, and wash dishes, and everything else over here, right? That's what we do.
The head cook and bottle washer, yes.
Oh, man, yeah, absolutely. So, in a nutshell, we support companies in the AEC space, and have done so for 20 plus years. With a wide range of different technology solutions. Now, traditionally, we're a large format, printer dealer, and there's other people like us that are out there. The world has changed and workflows have changed, so we've had to kind of morph a little bit. And we still offer, the wide format stuff, but, we're doing like software like you guys are and, a lot of imaging supplies, laser scanners, things like that. Since today's conversation is going to focus on plotters, though, I'll just focusing on that. I've been started selling, the big commercial OSE systems. If you guys are familiar with the brand, the big, like the laser toner plotters back in 2000. Back then, they were just like the coolest thing since sliced bread. Very, very innovative, essentially big laser printers. They could print out, sets and sets of plans like really fast at the time. And, I've been around long enough that I can remember the old ammonia diazo machines. Now, it's a little bit
that's where I started off. That explains a lot for both of us, man. That stuff was not good for the brain cells.
I tell you what, it clears sinuses in a heartbeat.
It certainly did.
So that was definitely not in my heyday, but I started doing this kind of line of work like right at the end of that era. So there were still some of those placements that we were upgrading to these new digital systems. And you got to think about, the manual workflow that happened with those machines and all the chemicals and everything else. So being able to wheel in a big box and put it on a network and send a print was just mesmerizing.
It was game changing. Lost me a lot of money, though. I used to make a lot of OT working on those ammonia machines.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what you don't want to do is if you had the filter, you don't want to hook the hoses up wrong because instead of sucking everything through the filter, it would
pump back out into the room. Yeah.
It would clear a room in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, I had a blast. I got to work in a company that you literally had their blueprint machine with the ammonia setup in a small 10 by 10 room with no ventilation. That was awesome. That was so much fun.
Well, things have come a long way since that, and we've been OSE has been taken over by Canon, so there's one big Canon house now, so we do all their inkjet products all the way through, but we still call OSE machines. They're branded as Canon now, but the toner type systems that are out there in the market, we primarily service most of the major markets here in Texas directly. But, we've got a big e-commerce channel, whatnot, and Amazon storefront. So we do a lot of coast-to-coast work through those.
Nice. All right, cool. So, I think, for a lot of years now, the design and the construction world, we've been told, right, that the days of using, paper plans are done, right? They're all going away. The concept of, killing trees and, plastering ink onto their processed carcasses is over. But the honest truth, though, is that I haven't worked with a single company that isn't still printing at some level. And like I said, I don't think that we print necessarily at the same levels that we once did as an industry. I mean, like we were saying earlier, right? I remember starting off, using Mylars for hand drafting and the ammonia blueprint machines. And eventually we had the 8-pen carousel plotters that were awesome to watch. And we crank out, in those days with those limited technologies, we crank out 300 or 400 prints a day every day. Digital data delivery, has certainly reduced that, I think, but it hasn't eliminated the need for paper copies, particularly of construction documents. So, Kevin, what are you seeing, or what have you seen at Tavco over the last decade in terms of printing trends? I mean, is the demand dropping, or do you still see a real need for the large format plotters in design and construction firms?
Well, one thing I can promise you guys, I'm going to keep it real here, and I'm just going to, shoot straight with you. The printing has declined. I mean, there has been a decline, and that only makes sense because of all the digitization and the workflows that are around now. And we see that most significantly with the traditional, like the black line, the black and white drawings. And that's primarily in the early stages of a project. So although like the pre-construction activities that used to happen where people print out a bunch of set of plans to, do takeoffs and do their bids, that type of work is kind of greatly been minimized. Mm-hmm. But that being said, there's still more printing going on than you think. I mean, paper is still a very viable medium. I mean, with all the mobile devices and everything else, a set of plans doesn't require a battery, and it doesn't require a cell signal. They're very, they're durable and they're portable, and people are still able to maximize some of the value out of those. So let me just kind of give you a little sidebar here. In full disclosure, this meeting happened pre-COVID when we were actually out, pressing the flesh and getting in front of people face to face. But I'll tag this at the end. But I do these account reviews with some of my bigger clients, and we go in about once a year, and I kind of have this big report that's all put together that, we just kind of take a top-down view of these larger machines and how they're functioning. We look at their print volume and see what the trends are, the months through the year and what kind of service issues they've had, the age of the equipment, is it working well for their current situation. And this particular client it's a civil engineering client, and I sit down with my contact in their conference room. And immediately he just starts telling me about all these great things that they've rolled into their enterprise. So they're, digital signatures, they're doing digital submittals, and, they don't have the need to print all these things and send them out the way that they used to. And just talking about all this innovation that's brought on. And the guy was quite proud of it, and it was impressive. I mean, everything that they've done. But I look down at my report and I go, that's fantastic, but why are you printing 6,000 square feet per month? And I mean, it was in the data. Yeah. It was there. And, if you're doing D-size sheets, that's 1,000 sheets per month. And he kind of thought for a second. He goes, yeah, well, we do this for internal prints. So, all of the check prints, and there's just a perspective that you get from a sheet that you can throw down on the hood of a truck, or you can throw it down on a conference room table and get input from various people.
Yeah, it's vital.
I see that value.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Rocco and I, we've talked about this on the show before, right? And I've said a bunch of times, right? Paper's not going to go away until the day that somebody invents the roll up video screen. When I can carry a 36 by 48 rolled up monitor in the back of the pickup, then maybe we'll see the end of the paper. But until then, we all need a simple way to communicate those designs, that we can look at the overall in one view. And paper is still really the most convenient and practical way to do that. So, in terms of digital delivery, right? Items like PDFs and cloud-based hosting, how is that impacting the printing industry? I mean, are you finding that people are okay viewing construction documents on their smartphones and on their tablets, or do you still see the need, for large format paper prints?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a multifaceted question. There's definitely, you and I, we both represent, Bluebeam, and, they have the capacity to have a cloud-based service where, you can, on your mobile device, pull that up and look at those drawings in the field. But again, I think it's a matter of perspective. I mean, how much information are you going to get, I guess, for the big picture, looking at it on a small screen? Sure, you can zoom and pan, but it sometimes, I guess, it just doesn't tell the whole story.
You lose the relation between the disparate items at different corners of the building, so to speak. Absolutely.
Yeah, and look, and again, full disclosure, I'm not the guy out in the field using it, so I'm seeing it from one perspective, but I'm just telling you from the direction that I see it. These are kind of the conclusions that we've made. So back to digital plan rooms. I mean, they're not new. They've been around for a while, and the cloud-based solutions have certainly influenced workflows. But one thing to remember is, I mean, kind of going back, dating ourselves here, guys, when we were talking about like the ammonia machines, way back when, the way that things were communicated, it was a print then distribute model. So the print shops would get a bulk of this work, and they'd print out all these sets of plans, and everybody'd run down and grab a set or two and take it back to the office and start doing their work. And then there was this big shift where things started being distributed digitally. So you bring on these cloud-based plan rooms where you can easily share PDF files, but then you have folks that need a way to deal with those files. So you saw this big shift, at least from the print perspective. Instead of, having these big commercial machines at the print shops, you had all of these different entities that needed to either deal with their plans, the digital files, through a digital tool, or being able to print them themselves. So it actually kind of increased the number of units out in the field, as strange as it is. So, there is, some workflows out there to certainly use some of those mobile devices, and it has had an impact on things. But because people are still receiving those digital files, and there are times when they want a physical sheet, we're still seeing the printing.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got more people who are doing it in-house, right? Because you're not doing those huge block distributions and prints that you would back in the day. So I see the logic there. So,
yep.
Rocco, let's wake you up. You've been too quiet so far today. So what's the vibe that you're getting on printing from our Zentek clients, right? I mean, we do a lot of work with our clients on document management and such for them, but are you finding that our clients are still in need of some kind of reliable paper printing process?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the map. I mean, we definitely see a huge number of folks using Bluebeam. I think the older folks are more inclined to stick with the paper structure. But one thing that I think everybody can agree on is that when you're in paper, everybody can understand, can read paper. When you're using digital formats, there's not consistency over the programs that are being used. Who's using Adobe, who's using Bluebeam, who's using another cloud-based system. So I think that there's definitely consistency when everybody's using paper. That's not to say it's the best route, but it's just a point that comes to mind.
It's a safety thing. You're absolutely right now, right? That most of us, except maybe me, because I've limited mentality that I have. Most of us can read and can look at the paper document and figure out what's going on there. Whereas all the digital systems do have a little bit of a learning curve. There's no doubt around that. So it's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. So what I will say is, I've personally, right, working as I do close with the clients on a consulting basis, I've seen a big shift in the types of printing that's done by my clients, probably over the last 5 or 6 years more so than anything. Where it all used to be like, Kevin was saying earlier, right? The simple black and white construction docs, and mainly because those were quick, cheap, and our primary focus. But I've seen a big change in the type of things that design firms are actually printing. I in particular see a lot of architectural folks who are printing renderings and presentations in-house. And even construction companies, right, who are printing, marketing materials for their real estate sales and their leasing departments. And, there seems to be a lot more focus on color work, right, and other mediums than we saw even just a few years back. So, Kevin, have you seen that shift in your industry? I mean, is there a broader reach for color printing and design build folks who are moving beyond basic construction line drawings? And what do you think are the big factors behind that shift?
Well, absolutely. There's been a change. I mean, printing needs are ever changing. I mean, it's a constant state of change. And there's several factors to think about. I mean, these large printers that are available now, number one, they're a lot less expensive than they were, even a handful of years ago. So it's from a cost perspective for a company to take that on, it makes a lot more sense. And these machines are extremely dynamic now. Regarding construction plans, communicating in color, adding some color lines or clouds or highlights into the printed document and taking to the field, that can reduce mistakes. If you have a certain feature that you want to highlight and like, hey guys, don't get this wrong. I mean, a mistake in the field is really expensive. So the little bit of, pennies that you use to make that in color on the sheet, that can reduce those mistakes and save time and save money all over the place. And with the technology itself, inkjet really is the way of the future. And, some folks may find that shocking because, you can go back to, the early times you have a HP DesignJet 750, at the little bit.
I actually had one of those.
Yeah. And, they would take, 10 minutes to spool the file before it even started printing.
Uh-huh.
Remember those?
I do.
Yeah.
Sitting and waiting. It's coffee time.
Yeah, absolutely. But, that's not the case anymore. The machines are fast. They're very powerful with the processing, so they can handle these large, complex files. And with inkjet, they can handle a wide range of media. And conversely, when the toner machines were really popular 10, 15 years ago, because they were fast and everything else, they're really maintenance heavy. Mm. And frankly, toner's kind of a dying technology in my personal opinion. I mean, if you look at the xerographic process, it's over 60 years old. I mean, the first commercial like Xerox copier came out in like 1959 or something like that. And so there's only so much you can improve on that process. And just by the manufacturers shifting and the consumers shifting to this inkjet-based technology, there's a whole wide range of media that people can use. So, I mean, everything from, standard bond and heavyweight bond and photo paper that people are used to, but there's all these like crazy exotic medias that folks can use, like a peel and stick fabric material. So if you're doing a show and you really want to make an impact, you can print out, something for your presentation, and it's like a big Post-it note, but it's like a really thin fabric material. And you just like put it over a door or put it over a column. If you want, indestructible, virtually indestructible prints, there's Tyvek material. And, you can take those in the field and they get rained on, they can get mud on them. And we've had some people that for these larger projects will set up like a trailer, on a job site, and they'll have like a master set of plans, and they'll print those in Tyvek. And then, anything they do to subsidize that, they'll, print on paper because it's, less expensive in the long run, but always have this master set that they can go to. There's just a lot of things you can do, and it brings a lot of value.
Nice. All right, so I think we're going to take a break here to get in a word from today's sponsor. And when we get back, I want to talk with Kevin about some of the cool new printing tools and features that are just hitting the market, and as well as, where he sees the industry heading in the years ahead. All right, so we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a little bit with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, Rocco. So we are sponsoring ourselves yet again today. What is it we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about me today, Jim.
No one wants to talk about you. Not even you.
Oh, fine. Let's talk about Zentek Tech Blocks.
Awesome. I like Zentek Tech Blocks. Zentek Tech Blocks are prepaid support hours that let you call on Zentek's experienced technical staff to address all your support questions, problems, help you with workflows and standards, really anything you need on the technology side. We're here to provide the support you need so that your most talented people aren't being dragged into helping everybody else in your company instead of working on the billable jobs that you need them focused on. All right. So Zentek Tech Blocks are available in multiple sizes. We sell them in 5-hour, 10-hour, 20-hour, and 40-hour prepaid support blocks. And if you're interested and you need that sort of help, Rocco, how do they reach out to us?
Yeah, hit up our website, zentekconsultants.net. Give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentekconsultants.net.
All right, Zentek Tech Blocks, the vital support that your people need exactly at the moment that they need it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast, where we are talking with Kevin Vaughan from Tavco about all things printing and plotting related. And in this half of the show, I want to get some idea of the cool new tools and features that we have coming our way. So, Kevin, what are you seeing at Tavco in terms of the product shift, right? I mean, what types of plotters and printers are firms using today that maybe weren't as widespread a few years back? What are your big sellers right now at Tavco?
Well, I mean, we touched on this earlier. I mean, toner machines, the toner technology really, I feel, is in its twilight. There's limitations on the printable media. They're expensive to maintain. The equipment itself is more expensive than the inkjet, comparable inkjet products that are coming out now. And frankly, if you look at what the manufacturers are doing, I mean, we're a Canon partner, so I'm, intimately familiar with what, Canon offers, but, HP, Epson, the other manufacturers out there, it's all about inkjet. If you look what they're doing, all the advancements are coming up on the inkjet side. And then, it's nothing new either, but the MFPs are always popular. That's an acronym for multifunction printer. That's the combo unit when you get you get a plotter with a scanner mounted on it and a PC that kind of controls everything together. But, regarding the Canon products, it's really just the 5-color CAD and general purpose systems that we sell and support the most. Canon is a fantastic line of photo printers. So, 8-color and even 12-color printers that will give you museum quality type output. Now, where I've seen companies invest in an 8-color system is if you're doing like a lot of maps or, GIS data you're trying to print.
Yeah, getting those fine variants and those fine shades in that type of a structure. Yeah, again, I live in the civil world, right? So for me, that kind of level of output is amazing when you get to see it.
Yeah, I mean, and what happens is the more colors you add, the wider your color space becomes and the more colors you can replicate. And, I have a demo print that really showcases this, and where you can see it is in the nuances of like dark space. There's an old temple image that we have in all these shadow areas, and if you do it on just a basic 5-color printer, it's all black. Mm-hmm. But on the 12-color, it really just shows you all the variances and the shades of gray that are in there. So it really, really expands the color space. And for people that are doing like aerial photographs and, maps and things like that, sometimes that's important. We've seen that in the oil and gas customers that we have, because a lot of times they'll do these surveys for oil leases and they'll put, information data on top of it, but they want a really nice photo image. Right. So the 8-color systems make sense in that role.
Okay, good. So back when I was still in the production design environment, and I think we talked a little bit about this earlier, but one huge expense, that we ran into at the firms that I worked at was a cost of outsourcing your printing. We used to send out to printing firms for things like the construction trailer signage, right, or the safety signs, or if we were doing, like you were saying earlier, right, trade shows or sales banners, and that always chewed up a huge chunk of our budget each year. We actually, I remember in the last two places I worked, we actually had to start adding line items for printing to our project bids just to cover those expenses. So, I understand that that's changing, right? And that more and more folks are handling that work in-house. So how are people dealing with printing on these non-paper materials, right? And what type of machines do they need to invest in to get that type of work done?
Well, I mean, any of them, really. I mean, they're all capable of printing on various materials. And we kind of touched on this already, but yes, there's definitely a much easier path to print things like renderings, maps, banners, custom signs. In fact, there were some special packages that were put together through the pandemic for doing like COVID signage. Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks just need kind of a quick and easy way to do that, or change some text, or some of the safety signs you were talking about. And again, speaking in the Canon world, because this is what I know, all of the printers. A couple things about them. All of the printers now are using a pigment ink technology. So, geek out here for a second. The old traditional ink is what they call dyes, and it's basically watercolors.
Right.
And that's the dyes were very volatile to outside conditions. If they didn't like the sun, they would fade. If you got them wet or you put a highlighter on it, it would smear. So the pigments is really an emulsion of microscopic particles suspended in an aqueous liquid. So it's the same technology that Canon uses for like their photo printers, where you can print up a image, put it on a wall, leave it there for 3 years. It's not going to fade. So all of the systems, even for just doing the general black and white, CAD drawings, that's still going to be on that pigment ink. So it gives you a very durable output that you can have a lot of confidence in. Now, because they utilize this pigment technology with the software package that comes with all of the Canon printers. I mean, you get all these extra tools. There's like an accounting thing and nesting prints. Mm-hmm. But they have this piece of software called Poster Artist Lite, and what it is a free template-based poster creation software. So you can really just drag and drop images and clip art and things like that and quickly do these posters. So for smaller firms, I mean, your larger firms are going to have like, a design staff or a marketing staff. Right, but, right. If you're Joe the plumber, right, you're not going to have a marketing team. But you still have the capacity now to, quickly create without having a graphics background, and with a very, very small learning curve to get out some great output. So having all these tools accessible is it made a lot of folks think outside the box. So we're seeing a lot of people, capitalize on that and, print things that for, construction-based companies that are very non-traditional for them to print.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, that's actually interesting, man. I hadn't really thought about that, but with the COVID outbreak and all of the the requirements of spacing and social distancing and stand here and go this way and route this way through the building, that was a big thing for a lot of folks. It didn't even occur to me that would require a whole other way of thinking. So interesting. So in general, I find that there's always hype right around the printed environment. Right, we always get the stories. That they love to run in a lot of magazines and email me every day about, the 3D print machines that can, they can print whole houses, paper that's covered with vinyl resin, that make what you plot on them look like real 3D objects. I even see the stories like, and I know this isn't anything that at least I don't think it's something you guys work with, on medical grade printers creating, biomech pathways to regenerate damaged nerves, right, so that people can walk again. I know most of these are far future concepts without any real world application. All right, or even if they are workable, they're at some ridiculous price point that makes them completely not feasible for most people. So Kevin, what what's the single biggest change in the printing world that you think is coming our way, right? What's coming that's going to be game-changing yet affordable kind of over the next 10 years?
The ability to be able to print a gym.
Oh, and we can have multiple gyms and the whole world to go to hell in a handbasket, man. No one wants that, Rocco.
Well, I mean, I'll be straight up with you guys. My crystal ball's on back order, so
it's delayed because of the COVID. See, COVID's messing everything, even the prognostication.
I checked tracking on it. It's somewhere in Kansas, so it should be here in time. No, seriously, the biggest factors that I'm seeing is just the cost of technology. I mean, I just see the cost of all this stuff. I mean, coming down. It's like any other electronic gadget. I mean, look at what workstations, how that's changed, for a CAD station. I mean, companies used to spend thousands of dollars. And in fact, I mean, you can still build a supercomputer that will cost a lot of money, but the cost of technology has come down incredibly. So, we're seeing that too. And just the fact that the cost of entry into being able to do things that are like non-traditional printing, like the posters and banners and the marketing material, that's just a new tool people have. And we're just seeing a kind of a changing dynamic there. But, it's still a lot of traditional printing that's going on.
Okay. All right. All right. So for the listeners out there, right? So just kind of give you a little background here. Rocco and I, we met Kevin because both Zentech and Tavco are BricsCAD and Bluebeam partners. So we're kind of, friendly competitors who've actually managed to find some common ground where we can help each other with, client referrals and so on. And Rocco was the guy who first met Kevin and started looking at ways that we could work with Tavco, particularly around printing stuff, since it's just not something that we do much here at Zentech, right? So Rocco, what prompted you to look at partnering with Kevin in particular, right? What was it about Tavco and their offerings that you thought would be useful to the Zentech client base?
Well, it was actually an internal interest. It wasn't so much external. So in talking to some of the folks, to Alex at BricsCAD, he said, hey, you should take a look at what Kevin is doing on the e-commerce side, because he doing a lot of real impressive stuff, not only with, on the printing side, but also with Bluebeam and BricsCAD. So that's what started the conversations and the intro call. And, like they say, the rest is history. I mean, we have a good working relationship here that continues to grow. And, I think we like working with each other. So it wasn't so much from an external perspective, but more internal.
I think you were just looking for someone who actually likes working with you, Rocco. I ain't buying the rest of it. You're used to dealing with me. So.
I'm a little taken back because I thought Rocco was going to say it was my sparkling personality.
See? There you go. That would have been the right answer, Rocco. Nice way to screw it up. Sorry. So see, I'll let Kevin show you how it's done. So Kevin, I'll throw the same question to you. Why work with Zentech when technically you're a competitor for us on two fronts?
It was Rocco's aura.
See? So you see how that's done, Rocco? It's not that hard, dude.
Oh, that's too funny. Look, you can technically call us competitors. There's a little bit of overlap. We both offer some same software products, but I'll be honest, I really don't see it that way because, we have a big investment in hardware offerings. You guys don't do any hardware, and then you guys have a big investment in training, and we don't have a lot of training resources. So I actually see a lot of symmetry for us to work together, and that's what Rocco and I have been talking about. For the clients that we're working with, if we bring somebody on with BricsCAD and they really want a really fine-tuned personalized training session, then that's something that you guys can bring. And, we're certainly happy to refer that business over to you guys. Both with your live and your on-demand training. So I really ultimately feel the relationship is much more collaborative than combative.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm a big fan of that in general, just in life and in business. I mean, the more often that you can just work with people instead of against people, everybody goes to bed and sleeps a little bit better at night, I think. I like going that route. So and plus, it's your sparkling personality, Kevin. There's no doubt. So
Right.
somebody in this company's got to be nice, Rocco. God. All right, so Kevin, I know that Tavco, right, and you said it already a couple times, right, that you're a partner with Canon, right, who is probably the largest printing plotting company out there on the market. Everybody knows Canon. And you guys sell and support and supply all your clients with Canon products, right? And Kevin has been teasing Rocco and I for a few months now about a big announcement that was coming from Canon, and it was under embargo, so he couldn't tell us what it was. Right, but you told me that was supposed to lift a couple of weeks back around St. Patty's Day. So, all right, sir, here's your moment, right? Put it out on the airwaves. What was the big announcement? What cool stuff have you been holding out on us?
Oh, okay. So this is product pitch time, right?
Yep,
so
this is product pitch time.
Well, look, I'm not holding out. I mean, we actually were kind of, there was a select number of Canon partners that were kind of brought in the fold, which is actually kind of a new thing for Canon. I mean, they're pretty good at keeping everything locked down and top secret. But we had signed an NDA and kind of got an early look at the system. But the product number is called a TZ, as in Tango Zulu, 30,000. So what it is, it's just their latest printing platform. And Canon and Osei
merged,
or Canon purchased Osei, I think it was back in like 2008. And there's just been this steady morphing into one entity. Not quite there yet, but it's certainly on the path. And they've, if you know anything about like the Plot Wave series, the Canon or the Osei Plot Wave series, and then what Canon's done with their Image Prograph, their inkjet, they kind of just like merged the two. So it's a really, really unique and innovative machine. Just a 36-inch two-roll system. It's fast. It does 4 D-size sheets a minute. And the cost of operation is going to be really low because unlike some other systems out there, it's got one single print head. So it's going to give everybody the ability to maximize, the speed and the low cost of operation, and then being able to use all of those different print media that we were talking about earlier.
Nice.
And, all that information is, we have it online on our website. So, you're more than happy to go out there and check it out.
All right, yeah. So anybody who's looking for a demo wants to look at updating 4 sheets per minute on D-side. That's pretty impressive. That's some solid speed. You can crank out a lot with that. So, all right, so you can just reach out to Kevin and Tavco, hit their website. And I think with that, we're going to wrap it up here for today. And I want to thank Kevin for being here today and answering all of our goofy questions about the printed world and putting up with Rocco and my silliness. So
it was a sparkling presentation.
There you go. See, he can be taught.
Hey, we're working on that.
We'll get him there. All right, Kevin, thank you so much for being here, man. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, folks, we are out of here, and we will catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.